Hello, I'm Perry Canestrari, and I'm the next guest on Rob's Inner Circle. Don't go anywhere. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Robert D'Alessio, and I'm the host of Rob's Inner Circle, broadcasting worldwide. Well, we have some great news tonight. Unlike last week, when we weren't able to broadcast our show due to some unforeseen circumstances, well, we were able to reschedule our show, and Richard Oliver will be among us in 2 weeks. That'll be on April 4th. That's Richard Oliver, who is a record producer and also a sound engineer. I'd like to welcome the hundreds of thousands of fans tuning in on Rob's Inner Circle around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in to what is going to be another exciting show. And of course, the show wouldn't be the same if we wouldn't give a shout out to our amazing producer, Jenny Duhame, and to our podcast technician, Patty, Lady Starlight Saragosa. The Daily Struggles sitcom, the sitcom that everybody is talking about, is now playing on Rise Up TV channel on the Roku streaming service. You want to download the Roku app on your smart devices and get the Roku stick if you don't have the app. And you can get that on Amazon.ca for as little as $30. We invite you to go onto the Bobby's Short Shorts YouTube channel and watch all of our productions. We expect you to give us some nice comments, share, click on the like button, subscribe to Bobby's Short Shorts. And of course, you want to hit that notification bell because every time there's a new production coming out, you will be the first to know. All of the Rob's Inner Circle merchandise is readily available on 514brandingco.com. We have some amazing cups, mugs. We have some water bottles, pillows, comforters, hoodies, you name it. We've got it all at 514brandingco.com. Well, folks, it's that time once again. It's that time to sit back, relax, enjoy. Let us carry the load because we have quite an interesting guest. In fact, our guest is so talented that he's been around for a very long time and he's still in very high demand. He has met face-to-face Gino Vanelli, Andrea Bocelli, Engelbert Humperdinck, and Celine Dion. Ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, let us bring on our star attraction tonight in Rob's Inner Circle, Montreal's own Perry Canestrari. Perry.
How are you? Thank you for having me aboard there.
You know, Perry, to coin a phrase, finally, you made it on the show. It's been a while. You've been wanting to come on, and we found a place for you. It's exactly where you belong on our show. Perry, congratulations for all of the fine work you've been doing.
Thanks. I just got to say two things. You mentioned that I met a few artists, famous artists. You forgot Luciano Pavarotti.
Luciano Pavarotti, you know, he was on my list. I'm so sorry. And Luciano Pavarotti was a pivotal point in your life. We're going to be getting into Luciano as we go along over here. We have a very packed hour ahead of us. So without further ado, Perry, let us start our show. Perry, you are classically trained. So what are the best benefits of having a background in classical music? How has that helped your career?
Well, basically, let me just get down to technique a bit. I was studying with a teacher at McGill. At that time, Martine, I forgot her name, a French singer at that time in Quebec, Martine something. Anyways, after her concerts, she couldn't sing anymore because she was using the throat. So basically, what am I saying using the throat? All her pressure was on the throat, and after a concert, she had no more voice. She was tired. So
Perry, you're talking about Martine St. Clair?
Yes.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name. She actually went to study with one of my teachers at that time, not because she wanted to study classical, but classical gives you an insight of how the mechanism, how the voice works, the la respiration, the breathing, and then you incorporate that knowledge to what you're doing. And yes, it does help.
You received some training. You went to McGill University, but you also had an amazing trainer. You were saying a wonderful lady that you ended up going to the Pavarotti concert together. There was some kind of a condition that she, anyways, something you had to like roll her on the wheelchair to go to the show.
Yeah.
But this woman played such a big part of your life and in your training. So by
Yes.
all means, let us know who this woman is.
Well, basically, she's not around with anymore. She passed away in the month of, I think, of July 1997. But when I was at McGill, it was in the mid 80s, early 80s to mid 80s. I had done, it was my fourth year in McGill, and basically this was outside McGill. I had gotten out of the voice department. And actually, I got to thank my dad, because my dad was the type of person where he would make phone calls and find people and speak to people. And he said, you know what? I find at McGill it's a great school. I mean, at that time, I didn't find personally that I was really developing, getting ahead in my vocal technique, my vocal endeavor, let's put it that way. But by the lady's name who I studied with is Lina Narducci. Lina Narducci was a lady who came from Italy, who had a career at a very young age. And at the age of 35, her career just ended right there because, as far as I remember her story, she lost an octave range because of typhoid fever. How do you get typhoid fever? She said drinking water. There was bacteria in the water, and it really screwed up the vocal cords. 35, it ended there. So she spent the rest of her life teaching. And obviously, she's developed some great voices. What I'm saying is that she even there are people who had international careers because of her. And at that time, she used to live in west part of the island in Montreal. And I would go to her place. The lessons used to last an hour and a half, 2 hours. It wasn't a typical where the teacher had a timing, you get in a certain thing at a time. We have an hour, we got to do this and that. You're out after the hour. No. This was, we sat down, we spoke. She says, you want something hot, like a tea or whatever? Yeah, we'd yak. She says, now it's time to work. So she had a beautiful living room with a bay window in the back. She also was a pianist, so she would accompany me on some of the stuff. But first of all, the first 15 to 20 minutes was vocalizing, warming up, teaching me some techniques and stuff. But after that, she said, I don't know, your voice maybe sounds tired. Let's take a 5-10 minute break. We would talk about psychology, physiognomy of the voice, anything that pertained to what they don't teach really in voice lessons sometimes, is that she took the time to explain any aspect of what a singer should know, psychologically, philosophically, technically. So it was basically a complete voice lesson. So when I came out of that voice lesson, it was for $20 at that time, it was peanuts. And the going price, hourly rate for a good voice teacher, voice instructor, was $60, $70 an hour. Imagine. So I had the benefit really of having studied with a great teacher. She was basically the wife of an orchestra director. When Pavarotti started in 1961, he replaced a famous tenor at that time in Italy, Franco Corelli, in Puccini's La Bohème. And who was the orchestra leader? Mr. Narducci. And obviously the friendship started there, and throughout the years, became a connection. And when I used to speak to her, she says, wow, Luciano and I are great friends. Holy, I said, and when I was in university at McGill, my biggest pastime, what I would enjoy doing was taking an opera aria, comparing it with maybe 5, 6, 10 tenors. At that time, we had at the library at McGill, you take out the records from the shelving and stuff like that, and go to to the 33 to the record player and put on headphones, and I would listen to the same aria again by this tenor, that tenor, and that tenor. So basically, that's how you develop. Franco Corelli, exactly. One of the most, actually, Franco Corelli was another Marchigiano. So, I mean, Rossini, the guy who wrote The Barber of Seville, another Marchigiano.
Well, I know The Barber of Seville very well. That's when Bugs Bunny was shaving Elmer Fudd's head and made a fruit salad out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. So just a long story short is that Mrs. Narducci was a great influence for me. I learned a lot, and basically in the latter years of her life, I had a chance to have made a contact with Luciano Pavarotti's agent in New York. And by chance, I said, let me write a letter, fax it to the office, and see what gives. You know what? I think it had clout because Mrs. Narducci had called me 3 weeks later that I had sent that letter. I was at home that Saturday night. In 1997, there were no gigs, right? In the month of January, it's cold. Nobody's doing any parties or weddings. So it was, I think, about 10, 11 o'clock at night. I sent this fax, and lo and behold, 3 weeks later, I got a call from Mrs. Narducci saying, in Italian. And she said, should I speak the way she spoke? In Italian, the Northern Italians have this thing called the R moscia, the soft R, meaning, I'll give you an example. She said, Luciano mi ha parlato. The R is put up in the palate. Instead of parlato, where the tongue, twirls there, she used to put that R more in the palate. So, viene di chiamarmi, that's the difference. So she said, you know what? We're going to see his concert March the 12th, 1997. At that time, it was the Molson Center. He said, wow. we have $350 seats, fourth row in the front. We get to meet him before the concert and after the concert. So that's where, to me, my dream come true. To me, Pavarotti was an idol and a half.
Wow. So I guess that must be your most memorable concert ever.
Yes, because you know what? To me, that was, to me, that idol wasn't just because it was, he meant everything to me as far as, his approach technically. And I learned a lot from Pavarotti. Yes, you know what? We can study with great teachers, but if it's not you who puts the concept, who realizes the concept of what sounds good also, you'll never take flight with your own wings, basically. So my learning, my listening, watching, the aperture of the openness of the mouth, the tongue. I'm talking technically now. It's singing classical, but even this can apply also to some pop genres also. So the whole technique basically is, looseness of the jaw for the sound to really come out as freely as it can. The tongue really placed really behind the teeth so that the sound comes out. So I was watching Pavarotti do this. And what was so exciting was, oh my God, the vocal production, the effortless, exactly, way of doing singing was just magic, a master. And he wasn't a master for nothing. I mean, this guy, man, sang really the famous high C's, the tenor high C's, man, it was just unbelievable.
Perry, is that what you would call the Belcanto singing technique?
Yeah, basically, Belcanto translates directly into, a direct translation, what I'm saying, beautiful singing. Now, Belcanto is the Italian school of singing that was developed before Enrico Caruso established, the famous Enrico Caruso, the tenor, at the turn of the late 19th, early 20th century. That's where Belcanto opera was flourishing and all that stuff. No, opera had started before that. But, Italian technique was developed. And Belcanto basically is learning how to produce a sound with the proper, technical, physical aspects being put in the proper place, meaning loose jaw. Just to give you an exercise, Mrs. Narducci used to say, pretend you're speaking like an idiot. No insult to idiots. So, and I'll give you, this might sound corny or look corny, but in order to feel the looseness of the jaw when you're singing, this was one of the exercises. So you develop this feeling of looseness. Now, I would always be looking at the mirror so that when I would sing, the tongue would be down, because the tongue could be an impediment for the sound when it comes back from out of the throat, right? And obviously, a good enough openness of the mouth so that you produce a good sound, a good resonance, a good ringing tone in the voice. I'll give you an example. Am I allowed singing?
Of course you are, by all means.
I'm not singing, right? That's really like throaty. Now, classical singing is basically, a good teacher that I had in McGill used to say this. It's basically believing or visualizing that you're singing, throwing out air without touching the sides of your throat. All right. So, Roberto, Roberto. Now, what do you find?
I found that it just came out so effortlessly. Right. It's very well projected.
Right.
It has like a theatrical feel to it. And Perry, you know what? You're doing everybody a favor over here, because everybody's getting free singing lessons tonight.
No, I'm stopping there because people pay for this, right? Good money.
Perry, keep it up, because this is why people tune into our show. It's so original. Where can you get a free singing class? I mean, besides on Rob's Inner Circle.
Maybe, you know what? People ask me throughout the years, do you teach the? I love to give the best experience, the best knowledge I have according to my experience in life. Maybe I can start. They can message me on my Facebook page saying,
exactly.
Yeah, we can start there.
And you know what, Perry? I just wanted to tell you, I'm very heartbroken right now, because you put an end to my dream, because I thought I was going places with my karaoke skills, but I am definitely realizing that it's going to take a little more than that to actually be able to have a voice like yours.
Well, you can be my first student, eh?
Well, you know what? Maybe after the show we can talk about it. Who knows?
Hey, look at this. I'm seeing corporate gigs, weddings, and funerals. No, funerals, it's not because I intend to be a funeral singer, but basically what I'm offering are musical services. So in any event, whether funerals, galas, wedding, it could be a TV thing, it could be, I've done some soundtrack work also on a couple of films. So that to me is musical service. So to me, this is an open door to do all kinds of gigs. So I guess funeral could be one of them.
Well, speaking of which, we have a lot of film producers and a lot of film directors who tune into our show, sometimes during the show or even afterwards. Is there a message you would like to give to these people involved in the film business? Because I know that you're a little bit inclined in the film industry because you did some extra work, but working on a movie using your voice, is that something that you would like to do?
Well, look, I've done a few things. I have a little experience. I can't say I have a world of experience, but any work that would come my way in that fashion, in that form, obviously would be appreciated, would be a great experience for me. And I'm sure I would be able to cut what's thrown at me. That's for sure.
Perry, please excuse me, audience. We have to pause for program identification. You're tuned in to Rob's Inner Circle. We're broadcasting live. Tonight's guest is a performer, singer, classically trained, Perry Canestrari. Thank you for tuning in.
Well, thank you.
Folks, if you have any questions for Perry, please feel free. Perry's a great guy. He's going to be more than obliged to answer your questions. Perry, you have so much questions that's still left over here. Tell us, do you train on a daily basis? You train your voice on a daily basis?
Well, I used to before. Yeah, sometimes just the simple warm-ups in the morning just to keep. If I know I'm singing every day, sometimes I've gotten away, believe it or not, with doing some great stuff without vocalizing. That's for sure. But I just want to go back a few seconds talking about the Belcanto Technique. Basically, Belcanto Technique is singing through the vowels. of the words and not really touching consonants. Because when you touch consonants, then you start, putting your tongue and everything, all the mechanism in the way. The consonants are formed with your lips. So I say Robert, 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 Robert. If you notice, I'm singing through vowel. That's Belcanto, basically. But it takes a few years to develop that.
Sorry, the mic went off. You work with the Vakai singing system.
If I work with the
Vakai.
No, I'm not familiar with that is.
Well, it's a certain kind of system that it's very similar to what you're doing. It's vocal method. It's a method of training.
Okay, let me just put this in a nutshell. All the teachers I've had, I've never worked with a textbook. I was obliged to buy maybe a textbook, vocal method, vocal technique, because there are certain exercises, yes, that I did follow, but all the exercises that basically the teachers taught me was through experience with what they threw at me. So never really a textbook or textual technique, page by page. Never did that.
So which techniques do you use when you are training? Is it breathing exercises? Do you incorporate some yoga in there, some meditation? What would be like if you are training for a concert? How would you be training on that particular day? How are you going to be warming up your vocal cords?
You know what? I think I'd cool down my nerves before anything else. Because you know what? I've done stuff at Place des Arts, fundraisers and all that jazz. Maybe vocalizing in my little lodge, my room, maybe just before. Sometimes I would go into the washroom because the resonance is good there. And so when the resonance is good, the singing is a little easier.
And you're not the first one to say that. Actually, a lot of these performers, they do go into the shower or one of these gym showers, especially.
Yeah, because it's a nice resonance. And I hate singing in a place. I mean, I've done gigs where I had to sing naturally with no mic system. There were drapes, carpets. The sound is so dry.
It absorbs everything, yes.
Absorbs everything. When you end up pushing your voice, you tire up.
Oh. And how about diet and exercising? Do they have any correlation with the health of your vocal cords? As funny as that may seem.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions surrounding, people who lose weight drastically has an effect on the voice. I don't know if it's directly an effect on the voice, but basically, the vocal mechanism lives in the body, right? So what I think is important is a psychological, physical. I'm going to say this word, probably might not. Probably certain people won't believe the term spiritual, psychological, physical. But for practical sake, let's say psychological, physical. I think it's good to be, that you have to be in shape mentally, because if you're not in shape mentally, it affects your physical. If you have no energy, if you're depressed, you don't have that vibe, you don't have that kick. And if you're nervous, everything's tight. So mental has a lot to do with it. Physical condition, yes, a lot also, because, you're living physically in this world and you're singing physically also. So very important, yes. Diet, definitely. There was a point in my life where, everybody has ups and downs, right? So it was a little bit of a down point in my life where I was weighing 260 pounds.
Ooh.
That have an impact on the voice, maybe a bit, because the heaviness, the breathing, but it came to a certain point where I had to kind of like do something about it, and I went down to 220 because I was starting to have knee problem on my right knee. I got up one morning, I said, "Whoa, where did I do this? Where did this come from?"
Well, I think it does have some kind of an impact on your vocal cords, because at 260, you're probably saying "ouch," "ooh," "ee," as you're singing.
Well,
because of the knees and the weight, right?
No, not really. Not because of the weight. No, I developed the point, this problem because I had a knee problem at a certain point, but that went away when I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
And obviously, your breathing is more extensive when you've got, less weight or whatever. Obviously, aesthetically, you look good. And when you look at
Yes.
yourself in the mirror, you say, wow, I look good. I fit in this and that. It's all intertwined between, like I said, being psychologically well and physically well. And we know what's good for us and what's not. So,
Perry, we have a little clip we want to show the audience. It's about a minute and a half of some of the talents that you have. We want to showcase that just so that we could show your vocal range to our faithful audience this evening. So, folks, enjoy this clip. This was at a fundraiser, I believe, and it was Perry's going to be talking about it after we show the clip.
Non distrugge, sola guardare, sola Nehame dalla terra alla montagna, non passa in cielo, non passa in cielo. Se vede in Francia proceda la Spagna, io vengo a te. Io vengo a te. E date con le corni del batte, ce lo se va. Se va, come allo viento l'andesate, presaglia sa, presaglia sa.
Wow, what an amazing performance that was. I got the goosebumps, Perry.
Thank you. But I got to tell you, that's not really high in the vocal range for a tenor. It's basically, it's getting up there, but it's not really, it's cake, But with the opening of this, when I was singing Nessun Dorma, well, we're starting to get, when I'm singing Vincerò, Vincerò. Now, that's a little bit more, intricate.
Look, I'm so intrigued. I don't know how. We're gonna go with you since you're on the show. Instead of being generalizing with all these singers, Perry, how can you hit these notes so high? What do you do?
Well,
what's the secret?
There's the little joke of squeezing something that
what does he got to squeeze? Well, tell me.
I'm not saying anything, come on, anyways. But basically, it's nothing really. It's self discovery, because you cannot really touch it and fix it with your hands. So you have to visually internalize into yourself. Basically, visualize internally. That's what I'm saying. What's happening by feel, and you think, oh, that sounds right. Obviously, developing when your teacher tells you you're a tenor or a baritone, you're working towards that. And there are certain notes you got to hit in order to be considered that type of voice. When I was in CJAP, I was studying. I was in percussion. I'm an ex-percussionist. Little piano, because you have to learn piano, because you have theory, you have all this. So piano is used as a tool to listen to harmonies, But teachers were telling me, you're a tenor. Yeah, you sure? This was the lack of confidence I had. And I didn't get to start to sing as tenor, as having a tenor voice, till I was in university.
Oh.
I decided when I was in university, I had started off with, into percussion. But you know what? Percussion didn't feed the ego. Okay, I got to say that. To be a singer, you have to feel that you are the center of attention in a way. But as you get older, you learn to kind of like subdue that in a more humble way. But when you're younger, yes, we have an ego. Look at me, look, and if people are talking while you sing, you get bugged. Yes, I've gone through that. It's normal. But what I'm saying is that I forgot. Give me the trend again, because I got so much to say. What were you asking me?
Well, I was asking you exactly how it is that you're able to hit these high-pitched notes.
Okay. So basically, like I said, realizing it wasn't until a voice lesson with it in my second year at McGill. Now, this poor teacher is not around anymore, but I'm not going to mention names, but he had a stuttering problem. Okay. My first lesson, Robert, I couldn't help but I was laughing inside, but I had to turn around because it was stronger than me to laugh. The poor teacher was there trying to, giving me his experience and how to sing me this, sing me that. My first lesson, he wanted to get to know the voice, the type, the sound. Anyways, he starts playing something. So he said, let's hear you sing a passage from an operatic piece from Puccini. And this, in order to determine me being tenor, I had to sing that high C. And I said, sir, you sure you want me to sing that? I can't. And I ended up, he was insisting. I said, sir, you're nuts. Since when do I answer that? Because I felt that I was impossible. I didn't have that confidence. Now, tenor, how I knew I sang tenor is because I managed to find a way, and I listened to him, and I got to sing that high C. Lost my head on. So that was the phrase. But in full voice, he says, what did you do there? I said, I don't know, sir. He says, do it again. So I managed to imprint it in my mind and physically. I don't know what happened. Subconsciously, it was an impression that I knew what I was doing. I went home that day. Now I'm tenor. Because what happens is I was able to really extend that vocal range from chest voice into head voice and find the resonance and to make that note go freely into my head. That's how I sing that.
I've seen you perform a few times, Perry, and I do tune into your live shows. Folks, if you want to be entertained, you want to watch a good show, Perry on his personal Facebook page gives these free concerts. For once that something is free on Facebook, he gives these free concerts. He usually lasts maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending. 2 hours. 3 hours, really? Okay, so your audience has grown. Okay.
Yeah. Especially during the pandemic, this was the only thing to do to keep me, out of this, what was happening in the world, man, to keep me sane. Let's put it that way.
So he gives these beautiful concerts, and I've been watching you a few times, Perry. I've tuned in. And one thing I noticed about you is that every word you sing, it comes from your heart, comes from within, it comes from your soul. There has a meaning to it. It's just not spat out. It is actually projected out in a certain way to have a meaning. And there's a lot of showmanship in your performances. It shows that you have this knack for cabaret performance.
Yeah.
So how do you come to do this?
Well, basically, that's part of training, like I said, because in classical music, basically, diction is important. The vocal production is important. The sound of what, you don't want a bad sound coming out of anybody's mouth, right? People are impressed when you have a nice sound because you can do anything with that sound. You could express softness. You can present any kind of emotion that comes out, and that's the secret. A singer has to sell. I have to sell emotion, basically, whether in funerals, especially funerals nowadays, because that's the only thing being self-employed that I had employment in the past 2 years, more or less. And I'm out there to market myself through what I'm doing and selling emotion. But doesn't mean it's fake. There's a certain kind of a part of me that is real when the emotion comes out. And like I said, when every word counts, yes, because even in the Belcanto style, whether I sing pop, whether I sing classical, I adopt the same method, the same technique through my singing, whether in French, whether in English, in Italian especially, obviously, Spanish, in Latin when I do my liturgical music. I can be singing ballads. But there's one thing that probably what you said that, he's a cabaret thing, he's got this cabaret thing. I've always had this versatility in me. So it's not something that I've created. It's just innate that I love so many styles. And thank God that through the education, through they say in French, la formation musicale, that I was able to incorporate all my training, experience, and just in a nutshell, this is what it presents to, whether a Broadway thing, whether maybe a ballad from Elvis, I use that basic Italian bel canto thing because people can listen, can get, they can distinguish the diction. It's clear. A lot of singers, I hate to say this, I'm not going to name, but I've heard a few, sounds like they have potatoes in their mouth. I can't really, all that. To me, that's their style, that's their choice. But to me, I think a good singing style is going through. There are a lot of singers, I guess, like me, who believe in the same way. And I think that's the right way also to project something, to make people, also know what you're saying through text. And I think it's very important. So
one of our past guests, Ted Stills, who was on our show not long ago, was saying that just like yourself, he likes to be surrounded with musicians, performers, artists who are superior to him, and in your case, superior to yourself. That way, it pushes you more to go get more out of yourself. So how has that worked for you?
Well, look at this. Mrs. Narducci had a world of experience. One of my teachers, ladder teachers. It's because you always learn. You know what they say, like, if you want to be number one, not because I want to be number one, but you look out for number one, basically, right? So you look out for people who have interesting, notions or ways of doing things that when we come across these people, we have, they grab my attention because the interest is there. I have something to learn. That's what I'm saying, from people greater than me, and that's the way it works. And if there's something I use from that, I'll use it. We learn from greater people than us. Yes.
From what I gather from all of the performances that I've seen from you, I would best describe you as a crossover between Luciano Pavarotti and Andrea Bocelli.
Stylistically, I could say between classical and Bocelli. But I think I expand a little more than I think I have a unique style in the sense where I'm able to do, for my fun. I think in the very core of my soul, I'm a rock and roller, not a rocker, rock and roller, because I love rock and roll. Now, this is what I wanted to say. Since what am I getting to is that I do sometimes dabble in a bit of rock and roll because for my fun, and it changes the energy. Changes, instead of singing always this, with this voice, this style, this classical thing, I sidetrack a bit. So when I come back, it's novelty again, right? But what I wanted to say is that your theme for your Rob's Inner Circle podcast has an interesting, I love the theme, and I can sing the tune of Batman, Batman, Batman. And I was singing Batman in that, so I like it.
Well, there's probably some hidden messages here and there. And by the way, it's copyright free. We got that on iMovie. So we're all good. There's no trouble there. You've been earning your living for the past 35 years as a professional singer, which is like totally amazing because a lot of musicians I know, they have to sustain themselves with some other revenue coming from other forms of a way of earning a living. And, as much as they love music, they love singing, they love performing. They can't do it on their own. But you've done this as a career for the past 35 years, and congratulations to you.
Well, thank you. But like I said, you know what it is? It's not. I consider myself lucky because I've been given a talent that I vary a lot in a lot of styles, adapt in a lot of styles. I would call it versatility. That's not something that I created. It's just something that I was born with. So thank you, Mother Nature. Thank you, God, whatever, people want to depict it from. It's nature. So I'm thankful for that.
At some point, I know a lot of the audience members are probably saying, where did I see this gentleman before? I've seen him before. I'm just wondering, well, if you saw him at local Montreal Canadiens hockey games singing both the Old Canada and the Star Spangled Banner, well, you're not on drugs. Yes, you did see him there. He sang at Montreal Canadiens hockey games.
Yeah, it started in 1994 with the old Forum on Atwater. And before the Canadian hockey team went over to Molson Center, Bell Center, my first gig there, oh my God, a month before, not because I don't know the Star Spangled Banner and Canada in 2 languages, right? I mean, inside out, but they want you 5 minutes before, ready before stepping onto the ice, onto the carpet. It's so cold. I was so freaking nervous that they passed me the microphone, right? Here's the mic. This is my telephone, by the way. Anyways, and it was shaking like this between the cold and the nervousness. And you know what happened psychologically? I said, my career ends here. You know why?
No.
Because inside my head, when you want to repass something, you say, okay, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? You're passing it over and over to make sure, but it's a false security, right, that I'm going through. At a certain point, I said, what are the words? What am I starting with? I was so nervous that I had a mental block.
I know.
And obviously, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem. I said, oh my God, I'm cooked. I'm finished. Step onto the ice. The thing comes back. I said, thank God that that everything came out as it should have come out, right? I sang the national anthem well, in other words. And the first
there was an incident like that. There's a Canadian girl who was singing, I believe, at a sports event. I'm not sure where exactly. And she totally messed up the American national anthem.
Oh.
And if I recall well, I know we have a great team over here who's great with research. Maybe we can get a bit of help with this. If I recall well, I think she went on one of these national shows. I don't know if it was Oprah, if it was Johnny Carson, maybe Jay Leno. She went back on the show, apologized to the Americans, and she sang the anthem live on that show. So I don't remember well, but I could just imagine how little you must have been feeling.
No, really, I thought it was the end of my career because the fear, that's what it is, fear, and then you fear the fear. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Psychologically, when I was talking about before, the nervousness, I guess everyone has their own psychological makeup. I know mine. Obviously, throughout the years, you learn to master certain things, but the very beginning was tough because I didn't want to make a fool of myself. I said, this is another avenue I'm going down to. It was free publicity being paid for. At that time, they were giving me $250 to sing 2 national anthems, 3 minutes. I said, it's good money. It's better than, my grandmother used to say, it's better than a kick in the ass. Right?
Well, I'll take it. Jeez.
I'll take it. Exactly.
$250 for 3 minutes. That's pretty good.
Right, exactly. And to me, what counted more was the publicity it gave me. Because I would go down the street 2 weeks later, it says, weren't you the one that sang the national anthem? I had that. So,
wow. So there's a lot of interesting aspects to you. I know you're a great singer, a great performer, but there's something that we have in common and that you have in common with a lot of our guests that were on our show. Okay. You are an advocate of the law of attraction. Share that with us. How has that been good for you over the years?
Well, I got to thank maybe my mother because of that, because, it doesn't come just out of saying, I believe in the law of attraction. anything that you believe in, comes through maybe being skeptic because you don't believe in this, you don't believe in that, and you want to get to something, but there's got to be a belief system that attracts you to that thing that you want. And you know what? It started years ago where my mother used to say, you know what do you worry? She says, the more you worry, the more you don't let that thing that you desire attract into your life. It's basically, I guess, some universal laws in the universe. I'll give you an example. I used to work all year long in music. Came January, February, everything, no more jobs, right? I mean, it was dead. But she says, you just don't worry about it. One door closes, two doors open. There's got to be a law of attraction somewhere in there that I've discovered, because it was true. The more I was worrying, the least I got. The less I was worrying about it, just taking life as it came, things were coming this way. Sometimes unexpected phone calls. That's where I figured there's got to be something in the universe, something magical there, where it's called the law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction, I've learned that term throughout the years by reading, listening to people who preach on this, and so that's where I believe in it. Yes, the law of attraction.
And this law of attraction has taken you a lot further than you were actually hoping for. What you wanted to do is earn a living as a singer, but then again, you weren't really expecting, even though you wanted it so badly, to meet up with Céline Dion, Ginette Renault, Sir Angel. You met up with Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yeah.
There's no end. So here's a little picture here with you, Ginette Renault, and Sir Angel. So tell us a little bit about what how this all came about. And you look like a priest, by the way.
Well, the pre-warm up, right? When we went, you and I connected on online, right, at about 7:30 tonight. I this is a joke. I said I wanted to be like Richard Chamberlain, right? The Thornbirds. No. But then I said, Rob, the thing is that at that time it was easier for me. I love bow ties, tuck shirts, but came to a point where sometimes you would forget it. You look like a fool when you're at a wedding. You don't have a bow tie. You have this open. You got to have the bow tie because it's formal. But then came a style where shirts had kind of like a black band that replaced the bow tie. And also the suits like that, I think that's called Chinese collar, and it looks formal. So to me, I didn't have to worry about the bow tie and this and that. I would buy suits like that. That was the style at that time. Hey, one less thing to think of.
So tell us about how much you were wishing to meet Engelbert Humperdinck. It was like a huge dream for you, and it just seemed so impossible. But then all of a sudden, it happened. So how did you make this happen exactly?
Well, in life you meet people and you meet opportunities, and basically, Engelbert Humperdinck, when I was 8 years old, 7, 8, Engelbert Humperdinck was just starting in the year in 60, 67, 68, those years there. At that time we didn't have turntables as we know of, right? There were furniture phonograph systems, right? With the putting the needle and this and that. I would go to my aunt's house, and she had an album of Engelbert Humperdinck. There were songs, The Way It Used to Be, Release Me, A Man Without Love. My favorite song was Lonely Table Just for One in a Bright and Crowded Room. I would be there hours and listening to the same tune, the same LP. Obviously, I would notice that I had an attraction to that type of style. So Engelbert was one of the first singers that I listened to before really getting to classical years later. And how did I meet Engelbert? Well, throughout the years, I met a gentleman by the name of Bill Rotary. Bill Rotary is semi-retired now. I have an idea what his age is, but I don't want to say it just for the respect. But he was implicated with Sony. He was president of Sony here in Montreal, maybe part of Canada. And he was basically working hand in hand with René Angelil and Céline Dion. And I knew that Bill met every artist that he knew that we could have known possible, right? Recorded for any label, because he had the connection. He was invited left and right, and he would, 20 artists that would come in and do a concert. He knew the whole world, basically, the artistic world, and the singers. And he's a singer himself, a good singer also. And so I knew by speaking to him at a certain point. I used to work in a restaurant north of Montreal, where he would come at the end of an evening and, he presented himself. And that's how I got to know him. By speaking, I knew that he knew the person that was booking Engelbert Humperdinck. Now, this is, we're talking about, I was 8 years old. This is 1969, 1970, when I first started listening to, this happened when I met Engelbert Humperdinck in 2005, but I knew Bill in the early 90s, mid 90s, early 90s. And I decided one night, I said, this guy knows Engelbert, booker who brings Engelbert into town. I said, Bill, if it's possible, I said, do you think I could meet Engelbert Humperdinck? He says, you know what? He says, let me make a call. I know the guy who books him. Oh, you know what? A little short time later, he said, you know what? We're going to see Engelbert Humperdinck in Gatineau at the Hull Casino. He says, after the show, you're going to get to meet him. We got free tickets. He says, on one condition. He says, you come and pick me up at Sony. And he says, you drive to, we went through Ottawa, and obviously Ottawa Hull is the back door, right? Into Quebec. And that's where he was performing, Engelbert. He says, but you got to drive. I said, no problem.
I'm sure you weren't about to argue about that.
No way, man. No freaking way. No.
So, wow, time is running out over here. There's so much things to discuss still. So you've been recognized for a lot of your achievements, your talents. We talked about trophies and acknowledgments and all that. If you have a couple of them readily handy, it's okay. Yeah. But if you got to go like up in the kitchen upstairs and all that,
no.
Don't you have them handy?
Yeah. Am I allowed going out of screen for about 10 seconds?
10 seconds. Yeah. I'll keep the audience entertained in the meantime. Folks who are tuning in to Rob's Inner Circle, our guest tonight is an amazing, classically trained singer, Perry Canestrari, who's been singing for 35 years. He's paid his dues. He's met people like Engelbert Humperdinck and Gino Vanelli. He's met Céline Dion, Charangel, and here he is. He's back. Wow.
This is not
at that. Sidney Crosby.
No, but this is just part of it. Hold on. I'm just going to get something.
He's going to get a little bit more of them.
When I first started in the scene, on the musical scene, right? We were doing small gigs. This is what I was looking. This is what I looked like.
Oh, wow.
Behind the keyboard.
That's at 24 years old, right?
No, that's maybe I was 28, 29 there.
Close enough.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the trophies. Now, these are not all the trophies because I only have two hands. Some of these things I won in Toronto at the Canadian Italian Song Festival in Toronto 5 out of 6 times, either doing cover tunes or original tunes. Not my original, but people who have written tunes for me, coming in first place, second place, or third place at times. So that's one. Obviously the awards differed every time. Let me get another one here. So here we go. So basically, this is what the collection is. I have more, but I don't have time to get all of them. And they told me at a certain point, look, guy, this is in Toronto. And I had won third place with an original song. They say, stay home. Doesn't look good on us. It's a Montrealer coming to Toronto, meeting Torontonians. Forget it. Stay home.
It's like the guy going to the casino is winning all the time. At a certain point, dude, you're not allowed here no more.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. Those are amazing accomplishments, and that's only a fraction of what you actually own in terms of trophies and recognition.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's touch a little bit on one of your other passions. You're actually a very talented cook.
Oh my God, where'd you get that?
I don't know.
Where'd you get that?
I don't know where I got that. Tell us a little bit about your cooking skills, because apparently you are a sensational cook.
Well, look, I'm not a professional chef. I've never taken courses. Yeah, I did. When I was in high school, one of my passions. That's where I first discovered where I had a culinary passion, because in secondary 3 we had to take 3 trades when the high school that I went to, and cooking classes was one of them. And well, the pizza to me is, I don't know, I love pizza. Any city I go to, a new restaurant, I got to try the pizza if it's good or not.
Which
So
Italian doesn't like pizza? Huh? Which Italian?
No, but the thing is that I end up making pizza on the barbecue with my own dough.
Barbecue?
Barbecue, yes, gas barbecue.
Okay, I want to know about this.
Well, I'll figure that out. Well, you know what? You can go any good store. I buy it's the stone. It's the cooking stone that you put on the barbecue, a pizza stone. You make your pizza and set the fire. I don't know, maybe to 600. Put the pizza in there and I turn it. It probably might take from 8 to 10 minutes, depending on the level of the gas, the flame. I mean, pizza's one of them. Then looking, because I've always worked in hotels. I worked in reception halls and all that. So I looked at a lot of food. And, this is where I also augmented my interest in the culinary arts. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a professional chef, whatever, but I know that whatever I do is good for me. And I make a lot of dishes. Let's put it that way, home here.
So
and when I cook, yes.
And besides the pizza, what is your signature dish? Which dish would you say that Perry Canestrari is most recognized for?
I make lasagna. I make eggplant lasagna. Have you ever eaten that?
Yeah, my mom makes that.
Okay. That takes a couple of hours, but that's one of them. I love making soups. I love making also main dishes like fish dishes, meat dishes with side, whether rice or salads and stuff. I mean, like I said, it's very simple stuff, but it all depends the way you make it and what you put into it that makes it good, right? So the condiments, the spicing, and all that.
So, Perry, listen, with the very little time we have left over here, this hour has just absolutely flown by. And I am an aviation enthusiast. So, for me, it's such a pun. It flew right by.
Already, I was expecting to be another 3 hours on that. I don't know. I have a lot to say still.
So, Perry, well, you know what? That's a great excuse for you to come back.
Well, that's up to you. I'm always open to that.
Well, and maybe the audience could show a lot of love to Perry and say, Perry, we want you back. Just go ahead and comment. You can go and comment even after the show on Perry's feed. You can go on the Bobby Short Shorts YouTube channel and give us your appreciation and all that. And they want to give us your likes, share, help Perry out over here. He's such a sensational performer. He's such an asset to Canada as a whole. As a performer. Perry, with the little time he got left over here, one last thing. What advice can you give to anyone out there who's starting out in the business?
Well, personally, if I were a teacher, an instructor, or professor, whatever, I think basically nowadays, I think it's too easy. I'm not saying there are good talents, but it's so easily readily at hand. Grab a microphone. I'm a singer because I've done karaoke. I'm good. To take it seriously, to make it an art form, the bottom of the ladder, you go up. I think basically some vocal instruction, theory of music does help because I went through all that. A little bit of history. But at least theory, some vocal technique, taking the time, discovering yourself. To feel that, yes, this is who I am in my singing, producing a sound, getting a style takes time, and not fly by night where, I'm a singer, I sing well. Maybe you might sing well, but, I don't believe in it. I believe that an established singer goes through what I've just said.
Perry, can I ask you to stick around? Because us too, we like hanging out backstage with the performers. Have a little moment. We're going to be signing off, ending the broadcast. Stick around. I'd like to speak to you a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, all right.
Okay. And this is the moment where you get to thank the audience, Perry. The stage is yours. Go ahead and thank the audience. Tell them what you want to tell them.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for and your team, for having, I guess, maybe giving me a check mark to say we want this guy, right? Thank you very much. And obviously, you know what Engelbert Humperdinck says, and I'm sure also other artists. I've heard him say in concert, yes, we're good singers, maybe we're great people, but without you, the audience is the food for the artist. So, audience, if they like what I do, what I say, it's also the audience. It's not one-sided. It's both. It takes both for me to give the energy and to receive that energy, and it just creates bigger and greater energy and creates a bond. So it takes, for me, without an audience, without people, I can't say I'm not nothing, but I'm not the full performer I should be. So I'd like to thank everybody who has encouraged me throughout the years and who are encouraging also right now, who probably, maybe you've known me, or you're just discovering me. Thank you very much, and all the best to you.
And for those of you who want to get in touch with Perry, just look at the description box on the YouTube channel, Bobby Short Shorts. You can get information as to how you can get in touch with Perry. Perry, please don't go away. Stick around. I'll be right back with you in a few minutes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. All the best to everybody.
Thank you, Perry. There you have it. That was our guest tonight. Amazing classically trained singer, Perry Canestrari. We invite you to stick around this upcoming Wednesday at noon when I'm going to be co-hosting the Noon Hour of the Box with Esther Brzezinski, my amazing co-host and a good friend. This week, our topic is going to be Lyme disease with author of the 5-star read, Lyme Madness, Lori Dennis. And you can also watch the extended version of Noon Hour Out of the Box every Saturday on accessradio.ca between noon and 3 p.m. Folks, next week we're going to have another amazing show, another amazing talent from Montreal, the lovely and talented actress and podcaster, Tina Mancini. To each and every one of you, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be seeing you next week, same time, same place. Ciao, everybody.